Hello, everybody. I'm back. Like I always say, like a bad penny. Um, Thank you for all your response for analytical paragraph writing part one. I know everybody was keen that we actually get back to business. So this is analytical paragraph writing, and this is going to be your part two, which is going to be data and charts as promised. So I'm going to be handling both examples simultaneously, and we'll see how it proceeds, right? If you have any kind of queries, etc., you could always use the comment box. You could put it there and you can be very sure that I would reply, right? So please remember, the only question that is the stupid one is the one that you don't ask. So this is our space, teachers of English, definitely. So from CBSE school. So if you have queries, please put it out there. I will get back to you, right? So talking about data and charts, so writing an analytical paragraph, and as shown in the previous video, this is about data and charts. Have a look at this, please. So, when I'm doing this session with you, please remember that I'm doing it with the perspective of you sort of executing in the class, virtual or otherwise, with your children, right, to help them understand. So those are the steps that I would precisely follow. Now, when we have a look at this, let's get the pointer going. I wish I remember to do this in the beginning. Yes. So you've shown them something like this. Please make sure that it is clear when you are executing the concept, so that there are no confusions. Don't make it very dense. Don't make it too difficult. Keep it simple, because right now you want them to get to know the concept. So you show them something like this. You read aloud the question for them. Analyze the year-wise percentage of attendance in secondary schools of India in a paragraph of 120 words. So we will have years, we will have percentages, and we know that this is the attendance, right? In secondary schools of India, so there are going to be several schools. Okay, please remember, you have to break it into little pieces for your children, right? And then we are going to obviously apply our visual thinking, and we are going to ask them some very nice questions. We are going to tell them, how many years do you see? Okay, which is the year that we are beginning with in this table? Which is the year that we are ending with? Okay, is there an interval of 2 years, 4 years, 5 years between them? Great. So you have a look at the schools. Do all the schools show the same pattern of a rise from 2000 to 2015? Is there a drop anywhere in any of the schools, right? So obviously they're going to pick up a particular school that has a drop. So convent run schools, it's been a steady rise. There is a bit of a fall somewhere. This has been a rise. This has been a rise. So this is the anomaly. So point it out for them. Tell them that when they get some things like this in the exam paper, this is what they have to think. So they have to just look at it. So now they would see this has increased. So the first trend that they have observed is that, there has been an increase. And then overall, what has been the highest percentage? The third trend is probably that, there has been a drop in comparison to others. So I don't think there is more time, or they are allowed more words to go beyond 3 trends, at best 4. So it's going to be perfectly fine, because we have to include the words that are going to be there for the introductory sentence and the concluding sentence as well. Yes, they have to just write this in one paragraph. Please remember, it is analytical paragraph writing. So even if it were 200 words, it would have been one paragraph only, right? So after having done this kind of thinking and asking them to observe, etc., we move on, and we sort of, tell them what should the initial sentence be. It's often noted, and a lot of teachers tell me, that if the child gets the first sentence on paper, then the child is on a roll, right? So what should the initial sentence be really? Okay, so the initial sentence is going to be the paraphrase of the question. What do I mean by this? Is that you take information from the question and you just put it out there on paper in a organized manner. I'll just show you. Okay, so how do we paraphrase? Obviously, so you ask this to the kids, any ideas? How do we paraphrase? What is it that you would like to begin with? And let them give you some answers. And then you just make it a little tight and just tell them, okay, children, for example, this is the data that we have. Now, what is it? What is it? So the answer is it's a table. Okay. What does it show? So it shows the years. Now, whatever is in red is given in the question. These are not things that I'm making up on my own. Okay. They just have to ask the right questions to pick the answers from the table. So what is it? It's a table. What does it show? It shows the year-wise percentage of attendance. What is it about? Well, it's about 4 different types of schools of India. And what is the time span? So the time span is years from 2000 to 2015 with a gap of 5 years. They may not write this. Okay, so what is the advantage of them sort of, I'm not saying that they are supposed to spend time doing this in rough work in their paper, but definitely when they are getting a hang of the process in the practice sessions with you, they could definitely sort of list it down. You could begin asking them these questions so that they look at the main question and they keep giving you these answers. So now I love this transition thing. Okay, so now look at this. These were the answers. Now, when we combine all of these answers of the child, this is what we get as the first sentence, the first couple of sentences. The table shows the year-wise percentage of attendance in 4 different types of schools of India. The percentage of attendance is recorded. You may not write this. You could use a pronoun, is recorded from the year so-and-so to so-and-so. With a gap of 5 years, you may not write if you want to save up on your words. So this is beautiful. So now the child is ready with the first sentence. Okay, so what is the first sentence? The first sentence is the paraphrase. And where do you get it from? You get it right out of the question itself. Okay, have a look at another example. So let's look at another kind of chart. So we've done data, now we are doing a chart. So obviously, as you can see, this is a comparison kind of a chart. It's very important that I know that. Study the chart. See, the question says that. Study the chart showing the participation of young people in the 2019 annual sports event. So what is this? It's an annual sports event from the schools of the Eastern region. So wait, which schools? Eastern region. Is it valid? Not really. By gender. Is this important? Yes, because it's a comparison kind. So by gender, boys and girls. Write a paragraph in 120 words based on your analysis of the data. So this is the data. You have a whole lot of sports here. You have the number of participants here. The number of participants in blue, you have the boys. In red, you have the girls. The paper is in grayscale, or it's going to be black and white. So you might want to sort of change the colors to black and white when you're teaching your kids so that they sort of, get used to it. Okay, then we move on. So the question is, how do we paraphrase? And just, I've done precisely that for you. So have a look. Again, the same questions. What is it? It's a chart. It's not a table. It's a chart. What does it show? So it shows participation of young people from the schools of the Eastern region. Have I created this? No, it's right there in the question. What about? Okay, so it's in the 2019 annual sport. Even you could change the questions. I mean, you could phrase the questions differently, but the process is that you teach them to create the first couple of sentences right out of the question. And then how? Okay, so how is this participation of young people in the sports event in the chart shown? How is it shown? So it's shown by gender. Okay, so boys, girls. Okay, I'm not going to comment on the inclusion or the exclusion of the third gender in this chart. So you'll have to excuse me on that one. That is an important aspect at the end of the day. Okay, so once this has been done, once you've finished questioning, you have a look. These are the questions, as you can see. These are the questions, and then these are the sentences, opening paraphrase sentences. The chart indicates the participation of young people from the schools of the Eastern region in 2019 annual sports event. No rocket science, it's all there in the question, right? The participation of youngsters is recorded by gender. Simple, a beautiful start. A beautiful start. That's all they need to know, right? So now, how is it that we can sort of get them to, create these sentences? How is it that we can do it? I mean, a lot of them are first generation learners. Some of them are very nervous. They might, sort of fault. So it's our job to ensure that our kids have the student resource. Please ensure that they have something like this. Please give this to them, so that once this is there in their head, they can use these cues, they can use these prompts to create something like this. Okay, they wouldn't have a problem. Have a look. The given, for example, the given chart shows information on. See, look at that. They can pick and choose. Okay, there are a lot more other things you can give, but I would recommend that you keep it very simple for them. So you have a chart, bar graph, pie chart, line graph. These are all charts. Okay, then you have table data. And then you have the flow chart, outline, process diagram. And for the verbal cues, you have information. So either they write the given or they can write the presented. They can use the verb shows, presents, outlines, describes, enumerates. So if it is a data, it could be enumerating. Okay, if it is a bar graph or a chart, it could sort of depict or show or present. You train them like that. Encourage them to use this. Okay, keep this up for them whenever you are asking them to orally answer. Show this to them. Tell them to look at this and then answer. Okay, and then they can use this for the description. So it is important that we share resources like this with our children. Otherwise, we are getting them to do the impossible. Create a piece of furniture without giving them the tools. It's not really fair. Okay. Then we must remember to tell our kids to describe the most general trends. I'm sure you've already done this. What are the general trends? That the most striking characteristics. Remember, I showed you in the beginning, is there a drop in any of the school? Which school has the highest number in 2015 and so on? Those are all trends. Okay. They need to be using a range of expressions, because obviously you have marks for cohesion and coherence. So they need not always say a slight increase. They could say increase slightly. They could play around with nouns, adverbs, adjectives to verbs, etc. We'll do more of this. Use a few different ways to say the same thing to avoid repetition. This is very important, because it brings down your scoring in the cohesion aspect. Okay, so you could say increased, went up, rose, escalated. We'll be talking more about this in the student resource section as well. Okay, so this is important to tell our kids. For example, now look at the student resources. Please ensure that they have these resources so that they can make ready use of it. An upward trend, a rise, an increase, a growth, a jump. Now there are several other ways, but I would say that this is enough. In fact, you could delete one or two from here if you want. Okay, don't confuse them. Then for a decrease, they could use the following. For something that has remained the same, has neither increased nor decreased, a steadiness, a plateau. So these are all nouns, please. These are all the noun forms, not the verb forms. Gradual increase, gradual decrease, you could tell them to use something like this, something minimal. And what I find really important is something like this. So when they get these percentages and they want to put it across, they needn't write the numbers all the time. Okay, there are other ways. So they could say a tiny fraction at 4%. So there was an increase by a tiny fraction, comma 4%. Instead of just writing 4%, it is a writing section. So if these cannot be expressed in words, what is the point of a writing section? Okay, this is not math. All right. So we need to remember that these are the expressions that they can pick up. They can pick up expressions like this, when they want to, express nearly or approximately. So many ways of doing it. You choose which are the 4 or 5 ways you want to share with them. And then for proportions, you have things like this. I beg your pardon, this should have been proportion. So a tiny proportion, insignificant, small, majority, a very large, So as long as they know all this, it's going to be good. So tell them if it's possible for them even to use one or two. See, look at this. Everybody knows that 25% is a quarter. So exactly a quarter, a little less than that, almost a quarter. See, these are the words taken from here. Okay. And then roughly one quarter. So almost one quarter could be used here as well. 50% is exactly a half. So around a half, just under a half at 49, just over a half at 51. What a nice way to put this across. 75% would be 3/4. So 73 would be nearly 3/4. All right. So it might be challenging for us as teachers of English, but trust me, class 10, children know all this. You just need to give them these cues to be able to use. And if you just sort of make them say it aloud in the classroom, it's going to be good. The resource should be with them. So now that we have all this resource, what do I use it to? How do I use it to write the trends? Okay, was there an increase? Was there a decrease? Is there a similarity? Is there a difference? Is this greater than? Is it less than? So we have all that resource. Now, how do we use it? Okay, so let's go on to see how we use it. Let's look at the first example. So now this is one way of saying it, a steady increase overall. So the children are very good at figuring out the trends. The challenge is, how do they write that trend on paper? So for them, you've given the resource to them. So they look at the resource and they would say, there's a steady increase overall. Steady increase overall. Okay, there has been an increase overall in the percentage of attendance in all the 4 types of schools. At the end of the day, if you look at 2000 and you look at 2015, there's been a steady increase. Look at another one. Attendance in convent schools was much higher. So see, whatever I've underlined, have a look at that. That is the resource the child needs. The up and down, less than, more than, everything they know, they can figure that out. But how do they write it without these kind of resource? So they need to have that resource, and the more they practice with that resource, the more they'll get it. Okay. Look at this, almost doubled to 44% in 2015 from the low numbers at 24. So almost doubled. So double of 24 is obviously 48. So almost doubled. Okay. Another cute way of writing is, like I told you, 49, 50, 51, 52. Okay, that's over here, 49%. 49%, either you could say that there was a drop by 3%, or you could say that there was a marginal increase by 7%. Okay, from 2005 to 2015. Yeah, so there was a minor drop. You could use those kind of things for this. So that's a way of putting it across, but you need to give them these kind of prompts, like the underlined kinds, for them to be able to create the trends, in their head. Have a look at this for the trends, the same thing. Look at the change in vocabulary, most, least. So this is comparison. Okay. Twice as popular, more as opposed to, which is a contrast, 25 and more, around 20 each, greater than. This is all comparison vocabulary. Okay, contrast and compare. So you have all of this. Now, the point is, now that we have all of this in separate chunks, how do we link it together to make it one coherent whole? So for that, you would be using linking words and transition words. This is again a resource that the children should have. So you have things like this. Okay, give them vocabulary that talks about addition, give them contrast vocabulary, or you can give them even comparison vocabulary, and give them order vocabulary. Firstly, secondly, finally, thirdly, last, subsequently, etc. You can choose which one fits in with the arrangement of ideas in a graph, analytical paragraph. So this is just my way of saying, please ensure that there's resources with the kids. Please don't throw them right into the deep end. It's not fair. Okay, they need to have this resource handy. Okay, so how do we conclude a paragraph, an analytical paragraph that we've done for data and charts? So we've done the introductory sentences, we've done the trends, we've figured out how to link the trends. And now how do we conclude the paragraph? By highlighting the main trends. That is your concluding line. So how do we do that over here? See. The convent-run schools maintain an increase in their attendance. So what is that one thing that you immediately see? That is the main trend, that there was an increase, no matter if there was a drop, but if you look at 2000 and you look at 2015, there is an increase. So that's a main trend. Writing one main trend conclusively is more than enough. Okay. The convent schools maintain an increase in their attendance percentages with the highest. So if you just want to take one aspect, it's great, but I would recommend that you train the children to do an overall trend, like all the schools displayed an overall increase from 2000 to 2015 in their attendance percentages. So if they look at this and they look at it, all the schools showed an increase. Simple concluding sentence. Okay. If they have some words left, they can do something like this as well. Okay. Let's have a look at the comparison chart. So overall, the figures demonstrate that the boys spent significantly more time than the girls playing football and slightly more time cycling and playing tennis. Okay. So one contrasting trend. In contrast, so now you've talked about the boys, now you talk about the girls. In contrast, more number of girls preferred swimming, hiking, and skating. Please remember, nobody is supposed to be giving reasons for all of this. You're not supposed to give your opinion here. You're simply analyzing the numbers that have been put before you. And that is what is important. So reminding you once again, introductory sentence is the paraphrase that you sort of get out of the question. Then you identify certain trends. You ensure that you give students some resource for increase, decrease, steady, flat, etc. You also give them some linking words, resource, so that they sort of link all these trends that they have created. And then finally, the concluding sentence by looking at the main idea or the main trend that is there in the chart or the data table. Okay. That would be all for data and charts. This is an important session on cues because there's been a fair amount of confusion as to how to approach it. So I would also sort of, be explaining the different examples of the cues and what is the logic and the rationale behind attempting them. So that's part 3. I will be uploading that up soon as well. So on that note, stay safe, stay empowered, keep rocking, subscribe, spread it so that it benefits a lot many people. Bye-bye.